the Chickasha City Council meeting to order. I need a roll call, please.
Boyd?
Here.
Nelson?
Here.
Ginn?
Here.
Applewhite?
Here.
Grayson?
Here.
Roslin?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Mosley?
Here. Item 2. I'm sorry. Before I jumped ahead of myself. I'd like to start off by being led in prayer by Kelly Boyd and pledge by Oscar Nelson.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight. Thank you for everyone that's here tonight. Lord, we ask your wisdom and guidance as we handle your business in these chambers. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I show no citizen comments. Okay. Item 3. Let's go ahead and get started with the council communication, the officer's oath.
I think we have 3 officers to be sworn in. Come forward, please. Stand up there. Raise your right hand, please.
Give me just a second. Oh.
I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, raise your right hands, and I'm going to ask you to state your name after the first I. I, having been duly appointed as a police officer of the City of Chickasha, County of Grady, State of Oklahoma, do solemnly swear that I will defend, enforce, obey the Constitution, the laws of the United States of America, the State of Oklahoma, and the City of Chickasha. That I will obey the lawful orders of my superior officers and the regulations of the City of Chickasha and the Police Department. That I will faithfully discharge my duties and responsibilities as a citizen of the United States. On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. This I do solemnly swear. This 5th day of September, 2023. Congratulations.
Would you like to, you guys shake the hands of the council members? We're thrilled to have you guys here. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
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 Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm excited to have 3 more new officers. So
Yes,
good to have you guys here.
absolutely.
Any other council communications?
I have something, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to send my condolences. You may have to read this. To the family of Chief Brian Zaleski. I'd like to extend those out to the Grady County Sheriff's Office, Integris Medical, Survival Flight, Heartland Medical, all of those on CPD that's worked accidents and things with the chief in the past, and of course our Chickasha firefighters. The legacy of professionalism, dedication to our city and her citizens, his guidance, training, and mentorship to many individuals over the years. I told you you're going to have to read it. Is immeasurable. Rest in peace, Chief. It was an honor to know you.
Thank you, Georgianne.
Thanks, Georgian.
It's from the passing of Chief Zaleski last week, last Thursday. Services, I know, are tomorrow at Bible Baptist Church at 2 p.m. Any other council communications?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple. Had an email from a resident that's lived here for 45 years, a retired registered nurse. It's compelling, her story and her concerns about the recent drastic increase in the homelessness or the homeless population, and it's increasing quite quickly. And she's concerned that there's under her understanding, there's certain enablers that are bringing a substantial amount of homeless into Chickasha, and it's admirable that we could help, but having the resource to accommodate this effort, she don't think we have that because more will be coming. So she reached out to me. While she's empathetic to the homeless, she's concerned that we have the resource to accommodate them or substantially help them. This community is trying very hard to revitalize and grow our industry appeal for more jobs and better living conditions, but this is definitely not the way to do it. Her words. I appeal to you to find a way out of this situation. I love my town and community and don't want to see it become a tent city or a place that's dangerous. So, felt compelled to read that.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that.
I have one more.
Okay.
Nobody else needs to go. I recently have been talking to Spencer and Mr. Johnson about Lake Chickasha. On the website, there is a 7-page, actually it's a park improvement and recommendations. That's from 2016. It's written by Mr. Steve Chapman, who was the director of Chickasha Parks and Recs at the time. Mm-hmm. Reading this over, I agree with everything in here. This is a vital resource for the city, and I believe we should start taking it more seriously. And actually, my thought is that we should task the EDC and or chamber to look into this as a family-orientated issue that we have a lack of in Chickasha. This is a vital area that we could actually clean up and use for our families to go out and have recreation. So I'm actually communicated my thoughts to Mr. Spencer and Mr. Keith about this idea of getting together with the EDC because I think it's an element of economic development, that we should take the Lake Chickasha area and treat it just like Shannon Springs. We wouldn't go out to Shannon, if we looked at Shannon Springs and we compared it to the Lake Chickasha recreation area, we would be appalled. So apply the same standards to and it's because it's a reflection of all of us. So I'm going to be working with whoever I can, whoever will listen to me, to engage the EDC with the function of economic development.
There are some groups, there's some private groups also, some tenants out there that I know that have a very strong interest in improving Lake Chickasha and facilities out there.
Yeah, there's some work.
So there's multiple volunteers pool we can pull from.
Right, and I commend Spencer and the departments for what they've done so far, which has been a big cleanup already. obviously, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg that we need to do.
No, I agree.
And so a concerted effort, and, so everybody knows that we should be engaging better on it. That's what I'm trying to bring light to it. That's it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I've got one thing. There's multiple lights on our overpass out here on the east side that are out, like 10 of them.
62, yeah.
We're aware of that, I guess.
Jim's not here. Keith?
And I think there's
Talking
one
about
pole that's still broke.
The metal halide bulbs over the 62 bypass on the big fixtures.
Okay. I think it's like 10 of them,
That's gonna be,
something like that. There's a
if
bunch.
not more.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all right. Move on to item 4, consent docket.
Move to accept the consent docket as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
I had one. Mr. Johnson, I noticed each department has a P card expense on this budget, or on the claims. So does that each department head, or how do we work the P card system within the city?
Departments that do have procurement authority often use P cards for routine purchases, and that is kind of supervised by the finance department. We're required to provide documentation of every P card expense each month, typically in the form of a receipt, and then that's audited to make sure it meets our budgetary and legal policy for spending, and then the department budget is charged for their related portion, and it's coordinated with our bank that provides the documentation of what our monthly usage of those P cards is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Roll call?
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 6A, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the purchase of both practice and duty ammunition for the police department from GT Distributors on state contract number SW 220-6267.
I move that we approve the purchase of ammunition from GT Distributors on state contract SW 220-6267.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 6B, discussion, consideration, and possible action to award bid COC-2305 Chickasha Sports Complex concessionaire contract to JW Concessions as the Chickasha Sports Complex concessionaire.
Move that we award bid COC-2305 Chickasha Sports Complex concessionaire contract to JW Concessions of Chickasha.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Roll call?
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Recuse.
Ashanti Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Recuse.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 6C, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the request from the Chickasha High School Student Council to conduct their annual homecoming parade on Friday, October 6, 2023.
I move to approve action, I approve to take action to approve the request from the Chickasha High School Student Council to conduct their annual homecoming parade on Friday, October 6, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Recuse.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
and Mosley.
Yes. Item 6D, consider and take action with respect to resolution number 2023-17R, authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the Chickasha Municipal Authority, specifically adding 1 1/4% of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of a sales tax agreement and containing other provisions related thereto.
I move to approve resolution number 2023-17R, authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the Chickasha Municipal Authority, specifically adding 1 1/4% of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of a sales tax agreement, and containing other provisions related thereto.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Yes, sir.
Add a little bit of backstory just for the benefit of the public that's here. This is just a recognition of the vote that was taken on August the 8th to amend our sales tax to 1 1/4% beginning January 1st. We will start to see revenue coming to the city in terms of cash flow in about February of next year, maybe March. But this is just an official recognition. Doesn't change anything. It just recognizes the outcome of that election that was taken. And then while I'm speaking to it, I'll also speak briefly to the next one, which is a formalizing recognition that we will not implement the proposed water rate increases as a result of that sales tax vote. So these two items are connected.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. All right. Any discussion?
I had one question, Keith, on when will we see the actual engagement to the Water Resources Board? As far as,
That's happened. When you say the engagement, they've loaned us the funds and we're obligated. So if that's what you're asking,
That was July, is that right?
I'm going to look to Alan with the date of.
Was it August, early August?
We
Okay.
closed on that. Yeah, it was in August, but it was after the election took place.
okay. I was just wondering, we had, myself, I haven't seen the contract or what we did to, it's nothing that,
We were approved at the OWRB late July, and the documents were done afterwards. That's where I was getting the July date from, sorry.
all right.
What in this, I mean, I didn't see anything that says beginning January 1st. I guess is that because of the way the vote was taken? Is that what kicks that in? Because there's nothing in this document that says January 1st.
We do have a sales tax that's set to expire on December
Yeah.
31st, and this one replaces that with 1 1/4%. Those dates, I'm going to look again to Alan. Do you know where those dates are specified? January 1st?
In the sales tax ordinance that was adopted prior to the election, it established the fact that the tax would start January 1. You can only start a sales tax on the first day of a calendar quarter, and you have to have the election at least 75 days prior to the start date on the tax. So essentially, January 1 was the first date that the tax could start. It also made sense, as the city manager noted, the old tax, the .75, was terminating December 31. So we renewed effectively the .75, added the 0.5%, where we got to 1 1/4. Again, your dollars will be collected during January. You'll get your first check early March.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So Keith, so when do we get the proverbial ball rolling then, as far as on our end? What was the next steps already taken?
Yeah, it's rolling. We've engaged a engineering firm to begin initial design. We've met with them and are continuing to meet with them. We'll have regular updated meetings. Once that hits at a little more substantive point, we'll be providing the city council with more meaningful updates, design documents, those kinds of things, whatever you feel is necessary. We'll probably be putting some stuff on the website as well to engage the public and let them know our progress, but we anticipate most of that design work taking place over the next 9 to 12 months.
Right, so that's kind of the other point, is when can we do a news blast that, hey, pass the tax. We're rolling on. This is the update, status, and all that.
Yeah, we'll be on top of that.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Roll call?
Ashante Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 6E, just consider and take action with respect to repealing resolution number 2023-08R, a resolution amending the master fee schedule to increase the existing water rates for water usage beginning October 1, 2023. Said increase not to take effect due to the approval of the 1 1/4% sales tax proposition as passed by the voters of the city of Chickasha on August 8, 2023.
I move that we repeal resolution number 2023-08R, a resolution amending the master fee schedule to increase the existing water rates for water usage beginning October 1st, 2023. Said increase not to take effect due to the approval of the 1 1/4% sales tax proposition as passed by the voters of the city of Chickasha on August 8th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashante Alexander,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 6F, discussion, consideration, and possible action to authorize a cable permit agreement with Seabridge Acquisition LP pursuant to the Federal Telecommunications Act.
Move to authorize a cable permit agreement with Seabridge Acquisition LP pursuant to the Federal Telecommunications Act.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashante Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 6G, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve an agreement for tax increment finance counsel services with the Public Finance Law Group, PLLC.
I move that we approve an agreement for tax increment finance counsel services with the Public Finance Law Group, PLLC.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, could we be brought in a little bit on who is actually asking for a TIF district?
That's been a discussion within both the CIA and this council, I believe, with respect to proposed economic development within the city. There's been a number of briefings and discussions held that a tax increment financing district may be appropriate for stimulating economic development in some areas of not just downtown, but other kind of the eastern side of the city. The CIA has already engaged the O'Connor Group out of Oklahoma City to provide some technical consulting advice. We've recognized that we need some particular legal advice that's very specialized in this area, and so the need to engage the Public Finance Law Group to guide us in some of those legal matters was apparent. And so the purpose of this at this point is to get the kind of consulting and advice that we need to determine when and if we want to move forward with a tax increment finance district. This does not commit us to a particular course of action yet. There's a lot of runway that still needs to be covered in terms of analysis and mapping and economic analysis that we'll have to do to determine if and where a tax increment finance district would be located. And we are, the staff and our city engineer are working with these consulting experts in the Economic Development Council to have those conversations.
Well, so that sounds like there's going to be several districts then?
Not several. We're considering maybe 2 at this point. There's no set number, but we might do it all in one project, but there could be 2 separate districts. We're still very much at the front end of deciding what this will look like and making recommendations. Right. The next major step will be forming a advisory council. The city council will appoint those, most of those members, but there's some at-large and other specific tax-paying entities. The school district, for example, that is entitled to a representative on that review committee. That will be the next step in progress towards making that decision. Ultimately, it will be the decision of the city council of whether you want to move forward or not. But we know we need that expertise and advice at the planning stage or the proposal stage now.
I'm just curious because based on what our knowledge is of our last TIF district that we had, that didn't work out entirely like we wanted it to. I was just wondering what merits and what things are enticing for the city council to even consider entering into such financial and tax gadgetry as a TIF district again, and who's behind it? Who's pushing it? Who's advising it? Why haven't we had maybe I should say, I would suggest let's have a work session where all the council can get in on this plan. I'd like to hear about it firsthand. Who's, and to honestly have an opinion and a trajectory, kind of spoken.
Sure.
So anytime somebody says something about TIF district, I'm like, okay, recent memory says we need some kind of analysis that said the last TIF district actually did what it was supposed to do and would say, yes, let's have another one.
Right.
But right now, I personally am of the opinion a private industry, a private investment, and what we've seen in Chickasha already, the EDC already has funds to entice development that they're sitting on right now. So the formula seems to be working. We see a great investment in the downtown and other places in Southtown too. So I'm just wondering, I'd like to hear firsthand, sure, why would we have to do such egregious things as a TIF district? I mean, there should be some heavy, warranted items for that.
Absolutely, and that's where we are, is beginning that process of having that discussion and making sure that city council members and the members of the public are informed of what's being proposed. There's not a singular organization or individual that's necessarily pushing this, but it is a economic development tool that has been used successfully in other places. It's not without controversy, and it's not easy. It does require professional and a smart approach, and I hope we're taking that and not getting ahead of ourselves. This is not a formal recommendation to adopt a TIF or to suggest that that's certain that we're going in that direction, but in order to be able to properly analyze whether it's going to be good for the city, we need to have some people who have done this before and are familiar with it and can help guide us and answer our questions up front. And so you're more than welcome and invited to be part of that process, and we'll continue to include the city council in those discussions.
Correct, and you've explained it very well. I'm just, I don't know if it'd be out of order just to go ahead and organize a work session, and let's get those who have suggested or brought it to you or brought it to the city or actually encourage it to be on an agenda item tonight. Let's sit and talk about it.
Sure.
Let's see the target areas. Let's see the benefits. What are the downsides? What's the negatives? Because we don't want to walk into another, well, we all know the last TIF district. Okay, so that was it. Thank you.
Well, to your point, Kelly, I mean, so we're looking at spending, I don't know, what, 40,000, 30 to 40,000 on a lawyer to go over what we could do with the TIF district versus just not spending the $30,000 or $40,000 and saying, let's get together and decide whether it's actually warranted or needed, or what's the ultimate goal in the TIF district, because I haven't heard anything about it, and I haven't missed that many councils. So I don't know.
It sounds like a workshop is probably warranted to better answer your questions and let you, and I think that's appropriate to do that. Good counsel costs some money up front, and
Yeah, no,
we
I
want to
agree.
make sure that if we're going doing that road, that we're doing it the right way and doing it
I
legally.
mean, yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree if that's the direction that, that we feel that the city should take. I mean, right now, I feel like the city's growing well and doing some great things without a TIF district. I know, the south side, I don't know if that one's still in.
It's still enforced. The south side's still there.
Yeah.
It's one thing that, like tonight, what they're looking at is with the law firm is if we want to ask the legal questions, because these people do TIFs, it would basically be like on a retainer, it's a good way of saying it, that we can refer back to them.
And that's kind of where my question would come in at the end of this too. So let's say that we did use, pay and have a retaining fee, and then we decide, a month in, this isn't the route we want to go, and we've paid all this up front. How does that work? Are we at a loss? Do we get the money back? Do we?
There are provisions in the terms of the contract that we can decide to terminate the relationship. We would owe for time spent, and there are some provisions of money that we would not get back if that were the decision that were reached. But that's kind of the nature of the way these kinds of contracts work. One of the things that we haven't really talked about tonight is the need for an investment in infrastructure, and that's really where the financing of a TIF should benefit us, is improving our water and sewer facilities in particular in not only the downtown area but other parts of town where the water quality isn't very good because we have lead and asbestos pipes still. We have infiltration into some of our water systems. We don't have adequate fire coverage for buildings that have more than a single story. In downtown, there's several buildings that we can't get water to the second floor because we don't have the pressure or the volume. And the concentration of funds towards infrastructure is a key reason that cities would look to a TIF type of area to focus that money. And we know there are questions. We have questions, you're going to have questions, and those deserve adequate answers before we move forward. But this is one step in that process of getting us to the answers that we need.
So all growth, y'all the growth above that baseline, I know that's where you do the sharing on the TIF, could be all dedicated towards more capital improvements at that point. Well, it sounds like maybe
there'll be
with our downtown fire loop that we have issues with, and out towards the fairgrounds on the east side of town, where we know we've got multiple broken valves to improve.
Well, my concern is that, and I agree with the others who have already spoken, that I would like to have us be more aware of what we're doing, be open, because too often when we talk about improving the city, I still see things that we've talked about for the east side that still are not done. And there's still things that's going to get done. So I'm always concerned when we talk about being open to the public and being where the public has some sense of what's really going on. So I think that work session is paramount to what we're talking about to move us forward and to have a trust in the whole city.
Right.
So
I would have to agree with you on that. I mean, I'm a city councilman, but I'm also the school superintendent. So whenever I hear TIF, my ears perk up really fast. And I'm all for us moving forward economically. I'm all for us developing as a city. I think great things are happening. I think there's even more that can happen. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm against a TIF. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm for a TIF. What I am for is more information. I think a work session would be really good and timely. I know for my school board, that would be the expectation, is we're informing them and we're over-communicating and trying to make sure they understand exactly what they're voting on. I get this as tonight, so just for me to be clear, This would be for us to contract with legal counsel so that they can provide their services as this is discussed, in any matters that might come up. Okay. I don't have a problem, and I'll say this, I don't have a problem supporting this piece, but without more information, knowing what a TIF is, I don't know. Sure. My job here is to, support Chickasha, to support you, support Chris, but we're just getting into something I really want a lot of information on. And I'm willing to dig. Jim Cowan knows that I'm willing to dig and ask questions and meet with people and talk about those things. I think all of us as a group need to hear exactly what is being talked about. It was a little bit of news to me to hear that now we're talking about 2 TIF areas, which makes both ears really perk up big time for me. So anyway, that's just where I stand. I really would like to see a work session.
And to that point, I think a work session is definitely needed, but out of a work session is going to be born questions, and who are we going to ask those questions to?
And that's kind of what I'm,
So
this
we're
money-
accomplishing both things, having the ability to ask questions, but then having the experts on hand to answer the questions.
So we could establish a work session and have the legal also would, I guess Kathy O'Connor would be there also at the same time? Okay.
That's kind of what we've already, or the CIA's already contracted with Kathy O'Connor. Why couldn't she just?
Yeah, she's like
not
the
legal.
Develop,
She
not really
still could
developer,
answer
wrong way of saying it.
questions.
There's legal.
I don't know legal. I know she couldn't answer legal questions, but she's an expert, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I think our minds together are quite capable in a work session to flesh this out with whoever the business leaders are, and they may be sitting here in this room or wherever, but have it come before us and let's get together as a group and vision together and let's see what's going to best benefit Chickasha. Before, we don't need legal counsel to do that. We can retain, once we have our
I'm
expectations.
no expert. I'd rather have somebody that is
We
the
may get
expert.
ourselves in.
You know what I mean?
I guarantee you, we can talk about this before we need a lawyer in the room.
But then we're going to end up with questions, so we're going to turn right around and do this.
Then I'm
dance
all
again.
for this action to go ahead, sign, let's go ahead and get, retain the professionals and go forward. But we haven't had a chance to even look at it. So anyways, didn't mean to steal anybody's thunder.
I just wanted to clarify that, that is, so a lot of the proposal here was included a scope of services, including developing the project plan and guidance on how to get the public participation involved. So it's not just, it's how we're going to pull the TIF together, where it might be, and learning more about it with what we can legally have all of our legal questions answered so it's done right up front. I think a lot of that was just clarifying for my questions what, I don't know that I read that right. So just making sure I'm clear that it's out the gate. And that was just the concern, that if we get into it, in 2 weeks or a month or whatever and decide a TIF is not the direction we want to go, that we haven't burned money that we're not,
Right.
Of course, that's a concern, but with
It works off billable hours, right? We're only going to burn.
that, I didn't really understand the payment schedule there, so it was 10,000
10,000.
upfront.
per month.
10,000 per month
And
for the
then-
first 3 months.
So you're going to burn a
That will
$10,000.
pretty much tell us where we need to be.
Okay.
That's what?
Yes, sir.
I'm Nate Ellis with the Public Finance Law Group, so I might be able to kind of help
Okay.
There you go.
in case we're reaching an impasse of some sort. If you would like, why don't we schedule some type of a work session? And I can be there, and hopefully Kathy can be there as well, and we can kind of go through the process and have some initial discussions. And then the next formal step that the city would actually take is to kick off the TIF process itself. You would need to adopt a resolution of intent that says, we want to create a project plan, we want to establish a TIF review committee, and we want to have this process to publicly vet and make recommendations and ultimately come back before the city at a later date with a TIF ordinance. And you could just, you could take up our contract at that same time if you decide to move forward. We've worked with the city for a long time. I'm happy to come down and do a work session if that would kind of help this process. Again, I'm not here saying you should do a TIF or not do a TIF. This is just something that we do. So we've been in involved in a lot of them all over the state, so we do have that expertise. We're happy to just kind of help you work through the process at this point. The reason why we have a portion of our fee typically non-contingent is because once we kick off the process, there's a lot of time involved in it. I'm down here for quite a few meetings. You'll see me a whole bunch if you actually decide to move forward. So that's kind of why we do that. And we typically do a non-contingent portion, that just because we're going to get into it once we get going. And then there's a contingent portion that if you decide to actually adopt the TIF, then you pay that. And that kind of splits the risk so that you're not on the hook for the whole thing if you decide at some point down the road, which you might. Okay. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. We don't want to do this.
I think that'd be helpful.
I'm good with that. Don't you need to pull the item and then have a date established?
Yeah,
Okay.
That would be great.
Get that on the schedule then.
All right, so I need a motion. Do I need to pull it or just, what's the best way of doing this?
You have a motion and a second?
Yeah, we have a motion and a second.
You probably want to
Withdraw
amend the motion to table
That's
it.
why I need to amend the motion to table it. All right.
Table this item for a future
So
discussion.
who made the motion?
Okay, I'm showing that Hebblethwaite made the motion, but I do not show a second motion.
Okay.
I think it was Zach.
Well, I seconded it.
Zach
Seconded, I'll
Zach
withdraw my second.
Okay, and Georgiana's gonna make a motion to table?
Amending the motion to table it.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right.
There we go.
Say it out loud, or are we good?
Does she need to say it out loud?
No, I just got
Okay,
it.
there you go. You spoke it. All right, roll call?
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Shanti Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 6H, discussion, consideration, and possible action to authorize the construction of parking areas along a portion of First Street. I'm sorry, thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
I move that we authorize the construction of parking areas along a portion of First Street, subject to modification requirements of the city of Chickasha.
Second.
All right, discussion? Pat, you want to approach? Saw you walking up here.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here with my
Good evening.
my Chickasha Community Foundation hat on. And as you know, last year, Phase 1 of the park, downtown park, got completed. And you all had a master plan that was a part of the lease when you originally leased that 6-acre tract to us between First Street and the railroad tracks. So this year, we've been working on Phase 2 of the master plan, and we've had a downtown park committee that's been working with the Community Foundation on that project. There's been a lot of proposed changes to the plans, and we now have what we think is a final plan. It goes to the downtown park committee meeting tomorrow afternoon, and if it gets approved by them, then it'll be on your agenda to review the master plan changes and the new master plan at your next meeting later this month. But at this point, we feel comfortable enough with the new master plan that we're prepared to go ahead and expend the money to do the asphalt parking on the east side of First Street from the Visitor Center, which is right there on the corner, southeast corner of Chickasha Avenue and First, down to the intersection of Kansas. It'd be 32 spaces on the east side of the street, which are city-owned property. We've had SRB with Dan Andrew on us do the engineering for this parking. I think you all should have a copy of that in your packet. And DJ and Jane Lyons, Hometown Paving, who are relatively new residents to Chickasha. Jane grew up in Chickasha. They are the contractor that we have, the low bid that we have to do this work. And so the Community Foundation is ready to let the contract and pay for that improvement for parking on the east side of First Street, as shown there in your report. and looking forward to being back here at the next meeting to discuss the changes in the master plan of the park.
Is that, hey Pat, real quick question. We've got a new sidewalk poured on that side of the street, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is this going to be east of the sidewalk? I mean, are they taking the sidewalk out? Is this going to be east of the sidewalk, or is it going to be right west of it?
The first section of the, if you all are looking at the plan of the,
Looks like it runs right.
from SRB, the first grouping of spaces are the sidewalk.
Oh,
Show the
I see
sidewalk?
it. Yeah, I think I see it
The
now.
first grouping goes up, they're 20 feet by 9 feet that will go up to the sidewalk.
Okay.
But after it goes south a ways, the sidewalk angles to the east and then straightens back out. So from there on to Kansas, there will be a grassed area between the parking and the sidewalk. Right now, the master plan would keep that sidewalk as part of the, part of the park.
Yeah, okay. I only have one other question regarding this. Is there any utilities or water drainage or lines
There's some water lines over there.
that need to be addressed before this takes place? Because-
There's a storm drain at the alley between Chickasha Avenue and Kansas on the east side. And the parking will be designed so that the water drains to that storm drain. Is that correct? Yeah. Good.
I just want to make sure it's all updated and free-flowing before we pave it and then maybe have to rip something up later if it's not updated. Because I've seen that happen a lot. When they overlay a street or something, the water lines break underneath it. So just trying to be proactive.
The site plan does require coordination with our Public Works Department on the
Okay.
water and drainage.
We met with them, with the Public Works Department, and they requested the engineering be done before we do the work. And so that resulted in the civil engineer becoming engaged in the project.
Is there going to be lighting in this segment, or is the lighting going to come later?
Well, there'll be a lot of lighting in phase 2 of the park, but as far as street lighting, none with what we're asking for this evening. We'd love to see some additional street lighting between Chickasha
Right.
Avenue and
It's kind of dark down there.
Kansas. There is, you've just recently, on the stop signs there at Chickasha Avenue, have a solar-powered, red flashing lights, and that will probably help with the safety. Patrons would certainly like to see some lighting, maybe at the alley, half a block south of Chickasha Avenue. By the way, the visitor center is open there now. If you haven't been there, I'd encourage you to go by and see what they have. And they're still having a steady flow of people from outside of this area that are coming to the Arts Plaza. I was in there last week. They said a baseball team from Kentucky on their way to California jogged south off of I-40 to Chickasha just to see our Arts Plaza. So, and that they spent money in the visitor center. So that's where we are, and look forward to being here at your next meeting to go into the detail of the master plan.
Mr. Johnson, is there a tie-in right there? If we wanted to be cohesive and work together with this install where we could actually put the style of lighting that they're proposing for the park, and kind of put some tie-ins. We don't necessarily have to put the lighting in right now, but could we put, since we're already going to be tearing up the area,
Stub it up?
go ahead and stub it up and have it for future use?
We could certainly look into that. I can't give you an answer as to how much that costs or what kind of engineering would be required to do that, but it's certainly worth taking a look at.
Right, if we engage and maybe speak with Smith Roberts or maybe Mr. Pat Brooks here and just kind of see if we can work together.
There are a couple of modifications to this site plan that our staff would like to have the council consider.
Okay.
One, the proposed plan includes these precast, what they call concrete wheel stops, or just those concrete blocks that go in front of a parking spot. We would prefer to see a full curb along First Street being placed there. I think that's what the original master plan included, and we'd like to continue that. And secondly, the parking spaces show them to be perpendicular to First Street, and we would prefer to see those as angled parking for a couple of reasons. One, I think safety. When somebody's backing out of one of those spaces, if they're perpendicular, they're likely to take up 2 lanes of traffic to back out of that space. But if they're perpendicular, they're likely only to take up 1. And again, I think that was something that might have been included in the master plan. We recognize that that would increase the cost of the project, and we're sensitive to that, and we appreciate the Parks Commission's work on this, but those are a couple of changes we would like to see included.
You know, if I could respond to that, the parking that's going on there now, which is in grass and gravel, dirt, it's straight-in parking is what people do. That's what the customers seem to prefer, is a straight-in parking, and I'm not aware of any hazard that has created. And then as far as the bumper stops, and I'd be glad to let Dan respond to this. That is a flood zone, that whole end of town. And I don't want to, I would rather not do anything that could create a barrier of the free flow of water at this point until we get on into the master plan and get the money raised and really start the construction. But I'll let you and the engineers, figure out what's best from that standpoint.
Pat, isn't this, the parking right now is kind of almost, it's a grade above temporary, but it's not the full parking construction, is that correct?
This is, we'd thought earlier in the year we would go in there with asphalt millings until we got to this point. But now this is a full 6-inch aggregate base, and we ultimately would be putting 5 inches of asphalt on top of that after a seal. But we had thought about doing 3 inches now and then doing the final 2 inches once we do the rest of the parking, which would go on down south of Colorado on the east side, or go ahead with the 5 inches now. The bid we have is to do the aggregate in 3 inches now, but the Community Foundation is prepared to go the 5 inches now if that's what the city wants.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, the motion was made, was it to modification requirements of the city, so what Keith was talking about? I mean, is that going to be for them to hash that out?
I think they're between, yeah, it would be with them.
But we just made the motion where they're going to have to hash it out.
Right, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Any discussion?
So do we need to make a motion to include those changes, or?
Include the angle parking?
I'm with Keith.
I believe the motion just said it was subject to modification requirements of the city.
Okay.
You may want to specify what that means, kind of up to you, I guess.
I would just leave it to the pleasure of community development and yourself on make sure it's, because they're the one's going to be checking everything.
Yeah, I agree that angle parking would be a good idea.
Which way? Which way?
I think the angle parking would be a good idea for
It definitely directs the traffic from the south.
one bigger vehicles, pickups. It's easier to pull into.
Angle parking would leave it better for this.
Community development would work on all that. Yep. Let them do the work, do the jobs. Otherwise, we'll get in the weeds.
So no amended motion?
No amended motion.
All right, well, I authorize the construction of the parking area along the portion of First Street, subject to modification requirements of the city of Chickasha.
Second.
Roll call?
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Evathwaite?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes.
Shante Alexander?
Yes.
Crosland?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Mosley?
Yes. Item 7, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Adjourn. I'd like to call to order the Chickasha Municipal Authority. Roll call, please.
Boyd?
Here.
Nelson?
Here.
Ginn?
Here.
Evathwaite?
Here.
Grayson?
Here.
Shante Alexander?
Here.
Crosland?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Mosley?
Here. Item 2, consent docket.
Move we accept.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Roll call.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Evathwaite?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes.
Shante Alexander?
Yes.
Crosland?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Mosley?
Yes. Item 4A, consider and take action with respect to a resolution of the Chickasha Municipal Authority, the authority authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the authority, specifically adding 1 1/4 percent of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of any and all necessary documents, including but not limited to a sales tax agreement, an amended trust agreement, an amendment to loan agreement, and amended security agreement, and containing other provisions relating thereto.
I move to approve a resolution of the Chickasha Municipal Authority, the authority, authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the authority, specifically adding 1 1/4% of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of any and all necessary documents, including but not limited to a sales tax agreement, an amended trust agreement, an amendment to loan agreement, and amended security agreement, and containing other provisions relating thereto.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Roll call?
Ginn?
Yes.
Evathwaite?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes.
Shante Alexander?
No.
Crosland?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Mosley?
Yes. Item 4B, consider and take action to approve an amendment consider and take action to approve an amendment to the contract documents for operation of water and wastewater systems by and between the Chickasha Municipal Authority and U.S. Water Services Corporation, DBA, USW Utility Group.
I'll move that we approve the amendment to the contract documents for operation of water and wastewater systems by and between the Chickasha Municipal Authority and U.S. Water Services Corporation, DBA, USW Utility Group, and authorize the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
Discussion? Roll
Didn't
call?
we have- I'm sorry, excuse me.
Go ahead.
A little fast on the trigger there, Mayor.
Sorry.
Didn't we have some issues with USW, as I recall?
I'd say that relationship has probably improved, on-site management. Care to address some of that?
Operation procedures. This does not change that nature, that part of the contract. This is only dealing with some IRS issues and the issuing of our debt to pay for the new water treatment facility, to make sure that there are certain legal protections provided to U.S. Water in that relationship.
It's like taking advantage of our tax
Yeah, they
exempt status.
refer to it as safe harbor provisions, and it's really an effort to make sure that they're protected legally, but it's not, doesn't affect the operations part of the contract or the compensation part of the contract. If we decide that we're not getting the results we need, we're always willing to have those discussions with them and work those things out.
Just an annual.
It's related to the, I'm going to refer to our attorneys here again, to the tax exempt financing that we are working on.
This time Alan and I were fighting over who got to come over here. So this document, when you issue tax exempt debt, which you did for the water plant financing.
Right.
There are all kinds of, it's like thousands and thousands of pages of rules and restrictions on what you can and can't do. One of the things relates to contracts when you have a third-party private vendor operating your system for you, or operating your water plant for you. The contract has to be structured in such a way that it doesn't violate these rules and regulations. And there's what the IRS calls these safe harbor regulations. And so the purpose of this document is to make sure that this contract exists within those safe harbor regulations so it doesn't cause you any issues for the tax exempt status of your bonds. So it's not really for their protection, it's more for the city and the authorities' protection to make sure that this document gets treated the way that we want it to be treated for federal tax law purposes. So it doesn't change the compensation arrangement, it's not changing what they're doing, how much they're getting paid, anything like that. It's just putting those in place. They were not in place because you didn't have any tax exempt debt outstanding for a long period of time.
Okay, that's where my confusion was coming in. I didn't recall this type of arrangements with USW before, the need for it.
Yeah, if you didn't have tax exempt debt, there wasn't a need, but
okay.
You have to if you've got it in place, and you know, if you continue to finance future infrastructure, it would be important for that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Roll call.
Hibblethwaite?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander?
Yes.
Crosland?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Mosley?
Yes. Item 5, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
For adjourned. I'd like to call to order the Chickasha Municipal Airport Authority. Roll call, please.
Boyd?
Here.
Nelson?
Here.
Ginn?
Here.
Hibblethwaite?
Here.
Grayson?
Here.
Ashanti Alexander?
Here.
Crosland?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Mosley?
Here. Item 2, consent docket.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Nelson?
Yes.
Ginn?
Yes.
Hibblethwaite?
Yes.
Grayson?
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander?
Yes.
Crosland?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Mosley?
Yes. Item 4A, discussion, consideration, and possible action to award a construction contract for construct T-Hanger CAA-2302 to Diversified Construction of Oklahoma.
I move that we award a construction contract for construct T-Hanger CAA-2302 to Diversified Construction of Oklahoma in the amount of $1,220,764.92.
Second.
Any discussion?
I've got one question. It's probably a dumb one, but anyways.
There's no dumb questions.
Well, there is when I ask them sometimes. So the bid on this is $1,084,664.02, but then there's $1,220,000. Where's the difference coming? Because I was trying to figure out what the difference is.
The base bid includes 8 hangar spaces. The base bid with alternate 1 adds an additional 1, alternative 2 adds 2 additional spaces. So in order to control costs, we had them propose their bids that way.
But, yeah, and for 10-unit T-hangers, it says that in the wording, it says the contract should be awarded in the amount of $1,084,764.92. Is the rest of that the engineering part of it, paying the engineer and their fees, or is that what that is? Because even the base bid plus alternate number 1 plus alternate number 2 is $1,084,000 from Diversified. But then if you go down here to their little table, they've added something to it, and I don't know what they've added.
It's over 100,000.
You look at this right here.
Well, if you, yeah, I mean, if you look at that on the bottom there, it's 1,084,000. Even if you
Total
look at
yeah.
this right here, in the tabulated part, total project is, well, they show 1,220,000 on that one. I don't know why. And yet if you go up in the wording, it says 1,084,000.
Yeah, the explanation there, letter from Park Hill, does not seem to be consistent internally. I understand your question now. The recommended action on the read-ahead is for the 1.2 million total project cost.
You're talking about, is like the $4,000 difference, is that what you're looking at right there?
140?
No.
So are they adding the city's part into that?
Well, what I'm saying, Chris, if you look at this letter from Park Hill, even if this letter from Park Hill, if you go to the bottom, should the council wish to award the base bid plus alternate one plus alternate number two.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was looking at the schedule below.
Well, and even in the schedule, it shows it's $1,084,764.92. But then, they don't tell how they get to the 1,220,000 down there in their tabulated form on that same letter.
The
And I don't know-
way I kind of understood it a little bit, Oscar, was if you look back at that page where it starts honorable mayor and council, and they break it down in that chart there, I took it as the difference, because I too caught that. I think that difference is under the column where it says city, and $171,000.
That's their funding, yeah.
I think if you take that on the 1,084,000 and then add that 171, I don't have a calculator sitting here in front of me. I think that's where they're hitting the 1.2. That was how I kind of took that piece. And that part right above it, it says, understand that the council's decision will require additional consideration of the total project cost, construction costs, as well as professional fees during design and construction. So I think you're right when you said, are those the fees for like architects, engineers? That is how I took it, but I was not brave enough to ask your question, but that's how I broke it down in my head.
They could have helped us by itemizing it.
So I applaud you for asking your question, and me, I don't know. Next time I'll ask it.
Well, that one schedule shows 944, 188, 58.
Add those two together.
And
The
the
city's.
letter says 944, 288, 58. It's $100.
I don't know what we're,
If you look at this,
I mean, is that just a FUD?
Yeah, so that was the other thing. If you go down here, I really get confused down here.
The second page of the Park Hill, which shows the actual bids, the diversified bid does total $1,084,000. That's the amount that is reflected in Toby's recommendation at the top of the first page there, the middle part of the first page.
Is it basically because the city has to kick in a certain percentage for these grants, and so
10%.
we have to do the 171?
Our portion's 10%, 90%'s grants.
So now they've got to find a way to spend that extra money so that we can get the full 600 and the 449? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if we have 10%.
Keith, it looks like the motion says.
We pay 10%
diversified.
of the million.
Which bid are we?
Who's pocketing 140?
Yeah, diversified construction.
So nobody's pocketing 140.
Park Hill is just the engineering estimate.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
they're not a bidder.
Got it.
I mean, I realize that maybe for cost overrun, I mean, I don't know, I'm just, the company bid 1,084,764.92.
Oh, is that Robert? Okay, there we go. All right.
I'm sorry.
Good question.
Now we need to know these things.
I just assumed that maybe that was an engineering, the company that pulls up, does the drawings and all that stuff. I thought maybe that was their fee, was that extra amount.
Let me get my calculator out. Can I have my calculator out?
No,
Okay.
they should.
Let's see, right here. Let me see what the difference is. 1084.
It's about 140,000 difference.
I'll get my calculator, and I'll get my phone out. I don't really want to get my phone out.
It really depends on what bid it is.
The funny thing is, the 764.92 is identical.
Base bid, alternate and two.
I used to have a calculator.
Problem with that was.
Mayor,
Toolbar.
I'm not sure that it's so time sensitive that we couldn't pull this for 2 weeks and bring it back, get some clarification from Park Hill on.
Yeah, it's an even 136,000. That's just kind of,
I think that'd be a good idea, personally, just really be able to answer Oscar's question and be able to explain how
how they got the
fee
math.
came up with, how this math is working out. Maybe it's new math, and I'm not really
You're not
hip on the
teaching
new
that one
math.
yet? Is that it?
Do we need a motion?
Do we want to wait until?
You want to see what
comes
Robert
back?
says, or do you want to just go ahead and just pull it so we know what we're?
I think let's just pull it for.
Okay. So we need to
Table it.
we're gonna
Table
make
it.
a
Table
motion,
it.
change that, table it.
Miss Susan, I make a motion that we table.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hipplethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander.
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 4B, discussion, consideration, and possible action on Resolution 2023-19R to accept FFA grant AIP 3-40-0018-022-2023 and authorize the mayor to execute it upon receipt from the FFA. Excuse me, the FAA. My apologies. Hey.
I move to take action on Resolution 2023-19R to accept the FAA grant AIP 3-40-0018-022-2023 and authorize the mayor to execute it upon receipt from the FAA.
Second?
Are we getting backwards a little bit because the acceptance of the grant is hinging upon the acceptance of the T-hanger bids?
It has to pass.
We can still accept the grant.
We can still accept the grant?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Hipplethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander.
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 4C, discussion, consideration, and possible action on task order number 4 to the owner-engineer agreement between the city and Park Hill for design services related to construct 2 box hangars.
I move that we approve task order number 4 to the owner-engineer agreement between the city and Park Hill for design services related to construct 2 box hangars.
Second.
Any discussion?
Hey, where are these going?
They will be more than likely on the east side of the existing big hangars. That's pretty accurate.
Well, I thought, but my picture was kind of rough.
Yeah, and it's kind of dark, isn't it?
Yeah, they shaded it out, so I wouldn't know.
That was personal. Because you have the T-hanger stuff, okay. You know where the T-hanger pads are? Okay,
Think so.
north.
I guess.
Okay, the you know where the 2
Where-
big news hangers, the
Yeah.
T-hanger pad is directly east of
East of
it.
it,
So be
yeah.
just north of that.
Okay. North or south?
North.
Okay.
The south has got that
Storage unit?
compass rosary
Okay.
in the ground, so you go north. There's an O one there. You gotta go see it.
An old what?
It's like a compass.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Any other discussion?
Services.
Roll call?
Grayson,
Yes.
Ashanti Alexander,
Yes.
Crosland,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Hipplethwaite,
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 4D, discussion, consideration, and possible action to authorize advertisement for bids for construct 2 box hangars, bid number CAA-2303.
Move that we authorize advertisement for bids, construct 2 box hangars, bid number CAA-2303.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ashanti Alexander.
Yes.
Crosland.
Yes.
Gertis.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Ginn.
Yes.
Evelthwaite.
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes.
Mosley.
Yes. Item 5, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you.